Sally drove up at that moment, tapping her horn and distracting me from the toast situation. I quickly joined her in the front seat. Hey, you're looking better this morning. I'm not so sure of that. Herb still holding up? So far. How's Spencer? Well, nothing so far. This had become our new routine. Ask about the herbs, ask about Spencer, check in on the situation, and make sure things weren't exploding. Ugh, I hate causing trouble for her. I feel like we've settled into this weird thing where he knows something is going on, and I know that he knows, and he knows that I know that he knows, and I know that he knows that I know that he knows, and so on. It's less tense, but we haven't really talked properly or anything. You guys are so weird. I know. Anyway, you're looking pretty tired. She laughed awkwardly. Still being kept pretty busy and all that? Yeah. How's the, ghost thing going? I haven't really heard any updates on that. Been kinda wrapped up in my own issues the past few days. Ugh. It is not getting better, that's for sure. The agents are getting frustrated with it. They still haven't found the culprit. It took out some of our sentinels, which is really freaking people out. Sentinels? What are those? Alright, good. I have stuff to read. I like having stuff to read. Give me all that lore. Okay, it's all fairies and stuff, so probably not in this section. Psychometry. There we go. Sentinels are cryptics that work with the agency, typically doing things like guarding areas that are problematic. Or guarding things that are problematic. Sentinels are often non-corporeal or don't look remotely human enough to blend into society. If they're lurking about an area anyway, the agency works to get on good enough terms with them that they'll keep an eye on things the agency needs to keep an eye on. Okay. Oh, like... they're basically like... cryptics that work with the agency but not really for it? Most of them aren't class 4, but still, you know... understand humans enough to work with us some. Class 4? You haven't read anything about cryptic classifications yet? I mean, maybe it's in my journal. Let me just flip through my pages really quick. There we go. Cryptics are classified on the basis of how well they fit into human society. Because there's such a huge spectrum of cryptics, expectations and rules differ based on classification. If a cryptic has such an alien, inhuman way of thinking that there's no point to even try to hold them to any sort of rules. Hold on, I don't think I read that right. If a cryptic has such an alien, inhuman way of thinking, then there's no point to even try to hold them to any sort of rules. And of course, some cryptics aren't even sentient. Classifying them lets the agency manage them more effectively, I guess. Not really. Ah. Well, basically, we're all classed on how well we fit into human society. It just kind of helps the agency keep accurate records. People like us are class 4. We're human or human-like. Enough we can fit into human society unnoticed. Class 3 cryptics usually can't fit in with humans either because of how they look or whatever other reason. But a lot of them have a mentality that lets them understand humans pretty well, so they help us out. You said they were sentinels. What exactly were they guarding? Oh man, that is a story and a half. We have time. So basically, Class 5 cryptics are also called ancients. They're old, powerful, and most of them don't get humans. At all. Like... these guys, to most of them, we're just ants. We barely rank on their radar, and if we do, it's usually as food or playthings. Oh, great. That sounds lovely. Yeah, we're talking old one type stuff here. Ancients live so long that sometimes they just get tired of existing. So they find a nice, quiet place to curl up and go to sleep. And one of them is sleeping in Pine Hollow?
Kind of. It was sleeping. And in the early 1900s, it woke up and kind of wreaked some havoc. Like, serious havoc. Some random wizard that was passing by ended up sealing it down in one of the mines, which effectively ended the coal mining industry in slaughter.
Oh, so that's what's down there.
Interesting.
Whoa! I thought it had to do with the railroad not going through the town.
Well, yeah, they had rerouted it after this thing relocated a few mountains. Yeah.
And that thing is still here?
Yep, but its physical body is destroyed and it's sealed up, so it's kind of stuck in the mine. Can't really roam about anymore. But, well, when you get isolated somewhere against your will, it tends to not make you happy.
So it wants out.
But it's pretty limited as to what it can do. I mean, most of the year it's inactive. Magic overflow tends to weaken the seal a little. Even then, it can't get out. For a long time, it could just sometimes send out illusions to lure people in, or use its power in a really limited way. But a few years ago, it found a sort of crack in the seal. Enough to let it send out a little piece of itself that, well, it went after someone. You know, trying to get a new physical form so it can leave. And yeah, that would be bad news. So, they were guarding that.
She must have seen the look on my face. Did that thing happen to have, like, wispy bandage type look to it?
Don't worry, though. I mean, it's not really interested in the average person, human or cryptic.
I'm not worried. Who's worried? I was totally worried. Jeez.
Anyway, the sentinels help keep an eye on it. Chase down any drudges that escape.
Drudges?
Just what we call those servants it sends out.
But now the sentinels are dead.
Yeah.
I can see why the agents are freaked out. When did that happen?
Apparently over the weekend, but we didn't find out about it until later.
Why don't they do something more permanent about it?
I mean, come on. Do what? It took everything that wizard had just to seal it up. They've been trying to fix the cracks and can't find a wizard strong enough to do it. The only permanent solution would be to punch a hole through the divide into some other realm and shove it in. Or just shove it into the divide itself.
The divide. That divides us all. Let's see. That's probably gonna be where the ghosty ghosts are, potentially? There we go. The divide is a metaphysical barrier that separates the human realm, or reality, from other realms. The divide isn't just a barrier, though. It's a place. An unplace of its own. You can enter it, and some creatures even live there. Some unplaces and pocket universes are apparently just enclosed areas of the divide. For the most part, the divide is formless, dark, and freezing cold. Generally not a fun place to be. Am I remembering correctly that that's the spot, with the magic door in the club room, that if you don't knock properly and you just step through, do you go into the divide as well? Am I misremembering that, or am I just superimposing this because it sounds like the same place? Alright, well.
And there aren't many people around with that kind of power.
Looks like this whole ghost drama turned out a lot more serious than Guess originally thought.
Yeah, but the weird thing is that they still can't figure out what's doing it. Based on the evidence, whatever killed the sentinels is the same thing taking out the other residents and haunts. And they don't think that's the ancient because it has no reason to simply destroy them. It would probably be eating them to gain power. They also don't think it's a human, which means some other kind of cryptic. Or another spirit.
But why? Why would a spirit be killing other spirits? Not feeding on them, just destroying them.
Supernatural prejudice?
A ghost that hates other ghosts?
Yeah, it sounds pretty weird. Besides, you'd have to have a serious grudge to go on a spree like this. Anyway, pretty much all resources are on the ghost thing now, so they've got us interns pretty busy.
Are we still on for this weekend?
Definitely.
Good. We split up at the school and I trudged to my locker. I don't like that the music stopped. Allie hadn't been kidding when she said things got chaotic this time of year. Ghost serial killers, Cthulhu sleeping down in the mines. Jeez. I dug in my bag for the books I didn't need as I pulled open my locker, but I froze as I went to put them in. What the... My locker was a mess. It looked like someone had just gone through and trashed everything. My books had been flung around inside, my notebooks were scrunched up with pages ripped out. I dried my hands down my face with a groan. Ugh. Why me? It beat being attacked by ghosts in the woods, but still. Still an attack by ghosts. Lifting a notebook by one corner, I inspected the damage. It was completely ruined. There go all my trig notes. I considered pitching it down the hall in frustration. What did this even mean? Random prank? Vengeance? There were definitely a few people who didn't like me. Like, Ghost Fan Club. This is not my day. Glass in the toast, destroyed locker. And the most obvious culprit for both was the red-haired harbinger of doom who just happened to enter the hall from the other end right as I was discovering this mess. Girl, I really wish you would smarten up. It is so obvious what it is. It's like not even funny. But I didn't want to start suspecting him, much less openly blaming him. He'd done that to me when I wasn't to blame, and it sucked. I didn't want to do the same thing he'd done. I'm just glad my research journal wasn't in there. I had no idea what I should do about this one, so I just shut the locker door. Not dealing with it right now. I'd worry about cleaning that up later. Shouldering my book bag, I headed up to the clubroom. I was nearly to the top landing when my foot caught on something, sending me staggering up the last few. I crashed face first into someone's chest. Well, how the tables have turned, my good sir. Thanks for being there.
Whoa, you okay?
Corvin?
Wow, that was pretty impressive. Even I don't trip up the stairs.
Do you think Ghost Fan Club is trying to get her together with Corvin? Like, hey, look, another pretty guy. Why don't you, like, get together with that guy? He also, like, kind of deals with ghostly things, if that's your jam. But leave William alone for me. Maybe. Ha ha.
Heading to the club?
Yeah.
Everything okay?
It's all fine.
You sure? You look, I don't know, out of sorts.
It's nothing. He leaned in closely, puckering his lips and staring into my eyes.
Really?
I put up my hands to fend him off. Corvin, can you please?
Nora?
Thank goodness. Saved by William. I extricated myself from Corvin's grip and slipped past him. Thanks for catching me.
He caught you?
I tripped.
Coming up the stairs.
William looked immediately concerned. Boy, tell this girl it's the ghosts. It's not a big deal. Thanks, Cor.
Hey! That's the first time you called me by my nickname.
Is it?
I guess that means you're getting settled into the club.
I had no idea how those two things were related. I guess so? Anyway, thanks again. See you in Trig? He waved, started down the stairs, and immediately tripped. That's karma. Laughing up at us sheepishly, he waved again before vanishing down to the first landing. I continued on to the clubroom. William followed along beside me, and we walked silently for a moment.
Are you okay?
Of course I am. Just lost my footing for a second. No big deal. And let's just not discuss the rest of my morning. No, let's discuss it. William stopped and caught my jacket sleeve, causing me to halt as well. When I looked back at him, he was staring hard at the floor.
Nora?
Yeah?
I wondered. I thought maybe...
I would love to have lunch with you at the murder cafe. His face was bright red as he looked up at me imploringly.
Do you want to have lunch with me today? At the club? I mean, since it's the club, it shouldn't be a problem.
He was inviting me to have lunch with him? Really? That was so sweet. I really gotta study. No. That's like the easiest answer. I couldn't keep the smile off my face. My cheeks heated slightly. I looked away. I might be reading way too much into it, but it made me really happy. It felt like maybe things had changed between us a little the past few days. I'd love to, actually. And being up in the club during lunch would give me some extra research time, too. I could definitely use that, especially given that it appeared I was still desperately trying to escape my room at night. I couldn't leave that situation unchecked, not to mention the brownie.
Really?
The red in his cheeks deepened, and if I wasn't mistaken, there was a tiny smile on his face. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I'm glad.
Should we meet up there, or?
Yeah, I'll buy us lunch, okay?
You don't have...
I want to, if you're okay with it.
Alright. That made it feel, I don't know... Having him buy lunch for us both made it feel a lot less like two friends just casually having lunch together. Even though that's basically what it was, right? It's a date. We make it a date. Normally, I wouldn't have liked to have someone else pay for me, but it clearly took a lot of courage for him to even ask. And I wasn't about to shoot him down. That's right. Don't shoot down poor sweet William. Besides, it was kind of sweet that he wanted to treat me. If there was one bright spot in everything that had happened lately, it was William and being able to get to know him better. I smiled at him. Okay, that sounds great.
Is there anything you like?
I'm fine with pretty much anything.
Okay. Then I can get lunch from the murder.
From off-school grounds?
Because it's easier to get there through the clubroom door.
Really?
No one has showed you yet?
I shook my head. A definite no to that. Then again, there had kind of been a lot going on.
I can show you if you want.
Can you show me the world, William? All right. Without thinking, I took his arm as we went the rest of the way to the club together. He didn't pull away, and I caught the flash of a smile before he ducked his head down where I couldn't see. Ah, sweet goobers! I was so relieved that the rest of my morning went better than the start of it. I cleaned my locker bit by bit during passing periods. But unfortunately, a lot of my class notes were beyond hope. I was going to have to get them from someone else. I was just glad none of my books were ruined. Those things weren't cheap. But nothing else went wrong, so it was easy to dismiss it as a stupid prank. It wasn't like there weren't people at school who didn't like me. You keep saying that. Spencer aside, there was also Kara. I liked to think she was above vandalism and cheap bullying, but I really couldn't say anymore. Things had been pretty quiet on that front, but that didn't mean anything. Since nothing else happened, though, I decided to let it go. Just this time. I didn't need something else to fret about. I already had way too much bearing down on me. At least having lunch with William finally gave me something I felt like I could look forward to. When I was finally released from the confines of chemistry, I dumped a few things, grabbed the last of the ripped paper and broken pencils, and headed straight up to the club. I saw Danny right as I was passing the cafeteria. He waved slightly.
Not having lunch today?
Up in the club, actually. Wanted to get some reading in while I eat.
Ah, how's your research going anyway?
Haven't had a chance to focus on it, really.
Yeah, I heard about, the thing that happened recently.
How? Who told you? He just laughed, leaning against the wall near the cafeteria door.
Things have a way of getting around at the agency. It would be weirder if I didn't hear about it. We've been kicking around the woods to keep track of stuff. Gates and other things that pop up this time of year. Velos told us to keep an eye out for any suspicious people, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, considering what happened, that seems a little dangerous.
We always take either Corvin or Allie with us. They're good at self-defense.
Still, that thing was...
Don't worry. We haven't seen anything that resembles what you described. Could have just been something that was passing through.
That doesn't make me feel better. Why do they have... I lowered my voice as a few students passed by, entering the cafeteria. Why do they have you guys working on something dangerous?
Can't be helped. With the other case they have going and how badly understaffed they are, someone has to keep track of the gates and drifters.
I get that, but...
Hey, don't worry about us. We've done this before. We'll be fine. You just take care of yourself.
That was hard to do when I was worrying about everyone else, but I really was trying my best. Danny and I said our goodbyes. He went into the cafeteria, and I toward the stairs and clubroom. And I took the stairs very carefully this time. No more tripping up them into Corvin's awkwardly awaiting arms, for sure. Awkwardly awaiting arms. I love that. William was already in the clubroom when I arrived, and there were a couple of white bags sitting on the coffee table. I set my things down by the sofa and took a seat next to him. The bags had a familiar logo on them, the murder.
I got Corvin to bring us something from the murder. I hope you like it.
He sighed and fidgeted with the edge of his coat. Did Corvin tease you mercilessly about your date? Yep.
He teased me a lot when he learned I was having lunch with you.
That does sound like something Corvin would do.
He doesn't mean anything by it.
I know that. He's just that kind of guy, I guess. Light-hearted or whatever.
I think that is the kind of person he tries to be anyway.
Astute. I wasn't sure what he meant by that, but I suppose that he knew Corvin better than I did. I stretched and leaned back on the sofa. I feel like it's been a while since I did any actual studying up here. Things have been hectic.
They have been. At least, the potions have been working.
Definitely. That's a massive weight off.
How's your brother?
Lurking. Allie's been making me give her updates every day in case he does anything weird. Well, weirder than usual. William picked up one of the leather-bound books, turning it over in his hands.
Are you still looking into your own past?
Well, I did have a list of things, most of which I haven't been able to cross off. I reached in my bag to pull out the journal where I kept my notes. I flipped it open to the page where I had all my research topics.
Can I see?
Yeah, let's snuggle a little closer. I moved slightly closer to him, holding the book between us. William also leaned closer.
What language is this?
Oh, just... Spencer and I made it up when we were little. We used it as a code for a long time. You know, writing notes so Mom and Dad couldn't figure out what we were up to. I hope, with you and being next, I hope she shows her notes to him at some point and he's like, understand, I can like read all of this. That would just be mwah. We were pretty cheeky back then. Back then. Though I've heard I'm still a bit cheeky.
It looks pretty.
I looked up at him and smiled, suddenly realizing how close we were. Our eyes met and heat slowly crept into my cheeks. He swallowed nervously, then smiled a little.
And I don't mind if you're still cheeky.
That puts you in a minority.
I don't think that's true.
He reached up carefully and gently pushed my hair behind my ear.
I think a lot of people appreciate who you are. You always underestimate yourself.
I captured his hand, for just a moment forgetting how awkward it was to be this close. Forgetting how he could hear me thinking about how warm his hands were and what beautiful eyes he had. I think you underestimate yourself a lot as well. I think if more people had the chance to get to know you... I trailed off, lowering my eyes as his thumb grazed my cheekbone. My goodness, you guys are so snuggly. His hand lingered for a moment longer before he slowly, almost reluctantly, pulled it away.
I should stop distracting you.
I don't mind being distracted by you. His eyes flew up to meet mine, and he turned bright red at the sight of my teasing smile before he looked away.
Still.
Anyway, in spite of the huge list of topics, I think today I'm going to focus on brownies, and how to pacify an irritable brownie.
Oh, the one that lives in your house.
It's been pranking me lately.
I thought it was mad at your brother.
It seems to have shifted targets. I'm not sure what I did to make it mad, really. Brownie literally saved your butt this morning by throwing out your glass-infused egg toast. Anyway, it's apparently really mad. I thought about the toast incident. I just want to find a way to make it less cranky.
I can help you with that.
I'd appreciate it. To be honest, I haven't done much reading about them beyond the basics. But surely there has to be some way to make friends with them.
Perhaps some sort of gift or offering.
Maybe. But I do think I read something about them hating some gifts, so I want to be sure I offer the right thing.
Then we can look together. I'm sure we'll find something that can help.
Thank you. For this. For having lunch with me, for helping me look into this.
You don't have to thank me.
Of course I do. Buying my lunch, helping me out, you definitely deserve some kind of thanks. He just smiled slightly as he pulled one of my research books closer and opened it. Soon after that, we were both buried in books, eating our lunch as we chatted about our findings. It was nice. Lunch wasn't especially long, so we had to work quickly. But it was still kind of fun and relaxing to research with him. Definitely less frustrating than working on my own. Especially since it didn't take long for one of us to stumble on a possible solution. Apparently, the way to a brownie's heart was through its stomach. Who knew? I set my book down and leaned back against the front of the sofa, having relocated to the floor a little earlier. Man, I really did not plan on getting a super cranky fairy pet when we moved back here. I was going to try to start leaving some snacks out for it to see if that soothed its angry little soul.
I hope it works.
Same. I really don't want to have to try to kick it out of the house. That just feels wrong since it was there first. If I hadn't joined the club, hadn't found out I was Fae, if I couldn't see the brownie and didn't know it was there, what then? Would it just be pranking us mercilessly? Would I be eating glass-filled toast without knowing? I frowned down at my book.
What is it?
I was just thinking about how different the reality of being here is from my expectation of what it would be like to come back. William carefully moved himself to the floor next to me. He didn't say anything as I ran a hand through my hair and poked at the corner of my book. I don't know. When I found out we were moving back, I was so happy. But I kind of expected... I don't know. I don't know what I expected.
You expected things to be normal.
Yeah, I guess so. And it's just not really working out that way. I let out a soft noise of surprise, but didn't pull away as he gently embraced me. Aw, he's a hugger.
I'm terrible. I'm a terrible person.
What? No, you're not. What are you even... His arms tightened around me.
I know how hard this is for you. I know how much you're struggling with things. I know how things are for you right now. But even so, I'm still glad you're here. I'm glad you're a part of the club. I'm just glad I can be with you. If you were normal, we wouldn't be like this. But I feel like I shouldn't be with you.
Aww, William! Please. I pulled away from him enough to look in his eyes, not having quite caught that last thing he said. Gosh darn, get your ears cleaned, Nora. I'm glad I'm part of the club too, so you're not terrible at all.
I really am.
I flicked his forehead, giving him a mock glare. You're not. Listen, it would be easy if I could just say I wish none of this had happened, but that isn't how I feel at all. That's why it's frustrating. All of this is frightening, it's stressful. But if I had a choice to go back and never pick up Corvin's grimoire, to never come back to Pine Hollow, or to somehow avoid all of this, I would do things the exact same way. I'm also really thankful to be here with you. Like this. Whatever this meant, I wasn't even sure anymore. I just knew I was glad to be with him, and I knew that this conversation went way better with William than it did with Mark. We stayed that way a moment longer before he pulled away again.
Have you considered maybe talking to the murder about some of your larger questions regarding your past and heritage? Or even just the sleepwalking issue? Instead of just reading books.
I really hadn't considered it at all. I mean, Allie did mention that they solve problems and things, but I kind of had the feeling they work on bigger things than this. Then again, when I'd been in there the other day, Kaya had mentioned that I should ask them for help if I wanted to know things.
Not really. They do everything.
But their payment is a bit iffy, from what I gather.
The payment varies. It will be something unique to you. I think for information only, the price wouldn't be that high.
I chewed my lip, thinking it over. I hadn't initially wanted to tell Velos because I didn't want strangers fretting over me, and now William was suggesting to tell even more strangers. At the same time, Kaya almost acted like she already knew something. That's why it had made me so uncomfortable last time I was there. And since they didn't work for the management agency or anything, they probably weren't likely to fret or make a fuss. Do you think they'll really be able to help?
If they don't have immediate answers for you, they'll find them. That's how they work.
Do you trust them?
I think they're good people, if that's what you mean. They try to stay unbiased, and they try to help people. Even the agency goes to them for information sometimes. If you want, I can go with you. You can always just talk to them a little before you decide.
Like a consultation? Getting to know them before I really reveal any secrets?
Something like that.
I thought about the last time I had been in there. They definitely gave off the vibe of people who knew things. I wondered how much I really could talk to them without revealing anything. Then again, I guess it didn't matter how much I revealed. As long as I didn't accept help, I wouldn't have to deal with their weird payments. I guess I can give it a try.
Do you want to meet there after school today? Because of Samhain, I don't think I'm meeting Gus.
Today? So soon? Though I guess there wasn't really much of a reason to delay it. I trust you. Alright, we can meet there then.
Are you sure? You don't have to do it just because I suggested it.
No, I think it's a good idea. Checking books for that kind of information wasn't exactly going well anyway. And I trust you. If you think it's a good idea, I'm willing to try it. I did have to wonder why Allie hadn't suggested trying the murder, though. Then again, they did require payment. She might have been leery about suggesting something like that. Who even knew? I could always ask her about it after school, but she might try to talk me out of it.
It looks like we're nearly out of time today.
Yeah, just a few more minutes. We should probably clean up. I moved to stand, but William caught my sleeve.
Thank you for having lunch here with me today.
No, thank you for inviting me. I'm glad I came. And thanks for helping me with the whole brownie thing.
You don't have to thank me for that.
You always say that. It's okay to accept my thanks sometimes.
You're welcome.
We finished gathering the trash and cleaning up our mess right as the bell rang. We both had art next, and I felt it was kind of an unspoken understanding we'd be walking together, but I hesitated before stepping into the hall with him. Is it okay? I mean, going together? His ghost buddies got kind of cranky if I talked to him much outside, though we'd had a few interactions without any mishaps recently, so maybe they were getting used to me? Maybe he's using the amulet more? Still.
It'll be okay this time.
I'll take your word for it. We stepped into the hall together and I looked both ways. The far end was creepy, as usual. But it wasn't like there was anything out of the ordinary. At least nothing that was visible to me. We started toward the brighter end by the stairs together. I asked Allie about the missing, haunts thing earlier. She said it's still escalating.
Yeah, the school has been quiet.
What about your, well, the ones that hang around you? They're okay? He lowered his eyes.
Yes, the culprit has been targeting location-bound haunts, so I think that it won't attack mine. Unless it escalates and begins attacking roamers as well.
Allie said it took out some sentinels that were guarding something in the mines.
Can we talk about something else?
I was startled at the almost panicked tone of voice the moment I brought up the mines. Yeah, sorry. I shot him a worried look, but he was staring at the floor as we started down the stairs. Wonder what that's about. Given how upset he clearly was, I definitely couldn't ask about it. It was almost like I'd hit a nerve or something. But why would talking about that bother him so much?